everything we do has to have an impact. It has to be sustainable, has to be replicable. This is the three mantras, digital libraries in these schools. And we have now 239 schools in India, in 9 states that we have implemented.
The digital divide has, that there's a big gap.
Come to us, learn from us, replicate.
But there is tremendous potential and resilience among rural women who have leadership positions, providing them knowledge as well as skills so that they can come together and take the development in their own hands.
Leadership has very, very different aspects from different angles. My feeling is that my leadership style is lead by example. Leadership cannot be the my way or highway.
So giving and taking is the mantra.
Yeah.
Welcome to Techfluence, where technology meets influence. I'm your host, Veenu Kapoor.
I'm Sudipta Gupta. Today we are honored to host Mr. Sehgal and Ms. Anjali Makhija from the Sehgal Foundation. They're leaders in community-driven rural development. We'll explore how their work is creating a lasting impact in the rural development.
So welcome Mr. Sehgal and Ms. Makhija to our show. So let's start with the question, how is the Sehgal Foundation transforming rural India?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us on this podcast, and it's our pleasure. Sehgal Foundation has been working, doing impactful work in the rural communities for the past 25 years. Now we are in the 26th year. We started out as a very small organization, which was actually a funding organization because all of us came from a business background, and we had no idea how to go about doing rural development because the organization was established by Dr. Sehgal, who is a renowned agriculture scientist, and him and his wife Edda Sehgal put their lifetime savings aside to do work for rural communities because he worked with the rural communities. He was in the hybrid seed business, and he worked with the rural communities, and he knew very well what are the needs of the farmers, what are the needs of the communities. So he devoted all his lifetime savings into these foundations to start giving back to the country of his origin. He lives in the United States, but he wanted to really do something for the farmers, and that's how the organization started. We started with, as I said, from very business background, and we're getting into the rural development. And we came with a very high up goals. We're going to take 4 villages, and for the 4 years, we're going to multiply and with 4,000 villages. We had all kind of dreams as sitting in a you can say, sitting in a air conditioned conference room. But we were very lucky. We were very fortunate to have very, very good social scientists come on board with us. Anjali Makhija has been there for day one. We have Mr. Punyaji, who was with the organization. Now he is retired. We had two other very well-known social scientists who actually kind of guided us as to it's not, you cannot have a dream sitting in, you really have to go to the community and learn from the community what's going on there. It's wonderful. In a business, you create a business plan and you implement. And that's what the idea was for us. We created this plan, but then social scientists kind of stopped us and said, you got to go see what is happening in the community. So that they actually led us to the communities. They led us to the villages. And when we went there and we realized that we cannot go up with a very top-down type of approach. We really have to learn from the community and be able to develop our programs, develop our ideas according to their needs of the villages. Because otherwise what happens is they will say somebody came and built this and they left. It has no meaning. There's no impact. Because one of the key things that we have from very beginning from our organization is that everything we do has to have an impact. It has to be sustainable, has to be replicable. This is the three mantras that we have carried from day one. Because anything we do has to be sustainable, has to be replicable, and we should be able to, share that knowledge and information. So the very thankful that we had a very good scientist with us. So we started with four. Still stuck with the four villages. It took us some time to develop our models. First 8 years, we spent pretty much developing models. We spent our own money, and we did not go out there do fundraising and those things. So we said we need to have a proof of concept that we can take. Proof of concept in water management, proof of concept in agriculture, proof of concept in sustainability, women empowerment, all these things that we work on. Then we said we need to have a proof of concept. Once we spent 8 years doing these, developing these proof of concept models and replicating ourselves in some of the other villages, other areas, and that showed us that this works. And we also went to the very backward districts. I don't know, we call them backward districts anymore, but I think the word being used today is aspirational districts. And their needs are tremendous. But you also realize that you cannot meet every need of the community. You have to focus. You have to have a focus, because otherwise your focus get diluted. And so we really selected as a agriculture as main, because our family, Dr. Suri being an agriculture scientist, known by the agriculture, and the impact in the rural communities is with the agriculture, because the mainstay for the small villager, mainstay for that farmer is only that piece of land they have, 1 acre, half acre, 2 acre piece of land. So their productivity has to increase. If you were to really talk about development, that productivity has to increase on the farm. So we really focus on farm, working with the communities. And we know agriculture, water goes hand in hand, because without water, there's no agriculture. So we started working on agriculture. I started working on water management. So those became our key programs that base programs that we started with. We talk about women empowerment. Water impacts women in the household level. Women is kept responsible for the water when you go to the rural areas. So also looking at the women empowerment, we started working with on the water management extensively, to make sure the household water stays in the house, village water stays in the village, and the community water stays in the community, farm water stayed in the farm. So but the idea is wherever the water falls, because there's only source is only that, or below the ground. Below the ground in India water is depleting very fast. So we said we need to preserve and store the water as much as possible, and to create these water sustaining communities. And that's lead to the progress of Sehgal Foundation. We started with a handful of villages. Today, we are looking at over 3,000 villages in 13 states. Our team, which used to be four members, today is 400 members, 400 employees, all again in 13 states. So the growth has been tremendous, but only growth is because we were able to get that foundation that is needed. You have to have a strong foundation from which you can build on. If you don't have a strong foundation, the things are going to collapse very quickly, and you go all over the place. So we were very, very clear on establishing a strong foundation. And just last thing I want to say is the women empowerment has been a very, very key aspect for the Sehgal Foundation from very beginning. And when we started working in these villages, we realized the young girls, they can't read, they cannot write. And we started, Anjali is very passionate about women empowerment, and she will talk a little bit more about this. But from the very beginning, she started a course, a program called the Life Skills Education, teaching these girls who are dropout from the adolescent girls who are dropout from the schools, and teaching them how to read, write, and giving them some little bit of education on delayed marriage, delayed childbirth. Otherwise, 14, 15, they're married, 16, they have 2 kids. I mean, that's not the way it should work. When you talk about women empowerment, so we also start studying. We have a very strong research program with the Sehgal Foundation that studies the communities and their needs. And then we realized that our studies showed that the girls are sent to government schools, which are unfortunately not up to the mark that way it should be. And the boys end up in a private school. And so that was a clear indication, because the girls, they go there, there's no water, there's no toilet, there's no food, there's no, it's basically there's no facilities available for the. So we said we will transform some schools and see what happens. How can we increase the enrollment of the girls in these schools? Can we increase the retention of the girls in the schools so they can get education properly? So we started a program, Transform Lives One School at a Time. So we're taking a government school, working with the community. Everything we do, we have worked with the community first, because the community comes first. Unless they get involved, we are not interested in doing any of the work. So they get very closely involved in our programs and everything. Because that's a sustainability vehicle for us. We cannot be in those villages that we don't run these schools. The school management committees have to get involved. Everybody has to get involved. So you create an ecosystem that is more sustainable. So we take these schools with a proper classroom, proper benches, and you have playgrounds, and you have boundary wall for protecting the schools. You have proper cooking facilities. I mean, you name it. Everything is there. And then the girls start coming, even the boys start coming. The school enrollment started to increase. Government realized that more teachers are needed. They start sending more teachers. So so the idea, the whole thing was that how do we create that environment so that girls are educated more from the very young age, instead of waiting until the adolescent, adult age. So just to wrap up that story, that we lately have introduced digital libraries in these schools, because, as you know very well, if the kids are not up to mark with the digital literacy these days, they can't compete with the kids in the urban areas. So we added digital library, which is solar driven digital libraries with 10 15 10 10 12 computers in every digital library. So they're fully loaded with software, with learning educational softwares. And so that again created more excitement in the school. So we've seen a lot of the private schools closing, and the transform life schools are more flourishing. So I think this is again a concept that we started, and we have now 239 schools in India, in 9 states that we have implemented, and we are doing 10 more this year. And I think so. I think our whole concept is to involve the community, involve the people from the very beginning. Don't go into if the community is not ready, we are not going to go push anything onto them. Bring them along, train them, so they can take care of things by themselves as they grow, as they take over the village development for the future. Anjali, did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered all. She will cover this. What makes your approach unique and effective?
Yes, so I think some of it Jay has already touched it, right? So all our work is community led. It's driven by the community. So whenever we enter a new area, the needs are identified by the community. So it's a bottoms up approach, and that is why it is sustainable. I think that is the key, of our work. So community led development for sustainability, and all our programs also we work very closely with the government, right? So we complement what the government is doing so that the programs become sustainable, because ultimately it's the community and the government which will be, make the program sustainable. So these two are very, very critical in all our programs. And we are also not a static organization. We always say we are a dynamic organization, right? And, the needs keep on changing. For example, when we were there in this area 25 years back, literacy of girls was extremely low, right? They did not know how to read and write, as Jay said. But over a period of time, the enrollment has increased, but the digital divide has, that there's a big gap. So all our programs are very, very dynamic, based on the needs of the communities, so that these rural communities are not left behind. India is developing at a very, very fast pace. And that's a matter of pride for us. And our, vision is the rural areas also should catch up, with with this space. So, in terms of technology, in terms of innovation, in terms of even AI, and what Jay has mentioned about digital libraries, so we keep on improvising, our programs, and communities are very, very receptive, especially the young generation. Jay talked about agriculture. So, for example, the youth in the rural areas, they are not so interested in agriculture anymore unless we provide them technology and provide them a way for a lucrative engagement in agriculture. So those things have to continuously improvise and innovate. So we are not static in our programs. We are very dynamic, and we build institutions at the community level for sustainability. And we also have a community radio in one of our, districts, in one of our states in Rajasthan. And we do narrowcasting of, community radio in various other areas also. So whenever communication channels, information education, communication materials and channels, if we can provide. For example, we are here today in this podcast. We have a small studio in Rajasthan. Oh, so there we bring, the rural voices in that studio. So they are able to get a platform to share their voices. Yeah. So it's a learning and sharing and providing a platform. Our role is basically facilitation. Wherever the gaps are there, we try to fill in that gap. With the community, we work very closely with the government. Yes. And we continue to innovate and improvise. Okay, so you had been working so much on water management in the rural areas. So, how do you see Gurgaon can manage its water crisis? Because it's facing a huge challenge for water management.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of learning from what we do in the rural communities to be implemented. We have just like how we have created various ecosystems in the rural community. We also have created a very nice ecosystem here in Gurgaon, and the purpose was exactly that. We have a platinum level green buildings in Gurgaon, and in this building we harvest every drop of water that falls in our campus, and we have a storage. We store almost 1 million liters of water, which is used throughout the building throughout the year. And whatever excess water that comes, we have recharge wells created underneath, that all the water goes into the recharge well. So nothing is wasted. No water goes, not a drop of water goes out of our campus. Now, when water is used, it is again recycled. We have a sewage treatment plant, recycled and used for flushing again. Yeah. Then the third cycle it goes through when we again separate the water, it goes for irrigation purposes. So our campus itself is a living example. This has been 20 years that we have been doing this. And the reason we spent so much money in doing this process is the fact that we want other organizations to come. We want people to come, us all around us, that buildings are coming up, come and see how this can be done. It is a cost, but in the long run it pays off. We use very little water from the source, from the city. We are a water excess community. Just a small example, not to take a long story, but a building behind us caught on fire during COVID, and they didn't have water. So they came to us because we had the water to put out those kind of fire. So the whole story behind is the fact that if we every building, you see, the thing is that we many times we think it's a government's responsibility, but we as a residents of as offices, it has to start with us first. We have to start with us. What am I doing to store the water? What am I doing so that I know to flush my water on the street? If I have excess water, I flush it on the street. With the street, the water logging starts. And if the water is less, how do I use less water so that we don't? So it is not always the responsibility of government. Now, on the government side, I think it's having a better sewage treatment, but better sewage pipes, so the water is diverted properly in where the water is required, creating more. Because the key thing that we want to do is increase the groundwater because that's where most of the water accessible. Divert the water to the ground. Yeah, that is what we need to do, and percolate water percolates and stays in particular areas, and we know how the aquifer recharge it works. Come to us, learn from us, replicate.
So does anybody come, like, does any organizations or the government organization touch base with you to know about this? Because yes, we know that you have a huge water reservoirs and you work a lot for water management. So is it happening? Because this is like, it's time when we wake up and we start, like, we are late already, but then we
Yeah.
can start, at least start from today onwards.
Yeah, we do get visitors from government. We get from the water department. They come and see how we have done that. From the Huda, we get a lot of people come and see how we draw very little water from the ground. We even though we have a small bore well on the site, it's only a 45 feet, not way down. But we don't use it. We have plenty of water. We don't use that. But the people, people do come and look at our model and see. Now, replication is where the difficulty is. How do you people building next to us, for example? They can replicate those models very easily. They can be replicated, but they decide not to, even though we are sharing our knowledge information. But eventually they realize the water is not there, the power doesn't come, so they start. We have a fully solar power driven campus, so they also started looking at they guys. When the power is gone, these guys don't even run generators that they have power, so they also started solar power. So some of the aspects people started to use as their application. But water management, these creating these, even though you don't have to create tanks actually. If you tanks are expensive, I fully agree. But just divert the water in your campus. Everybody has an acre, 2 acre land. Whatever the water falls in there, dig a nice well, and we have the technology. We're willing to share the technology, divert the water to the well, increase the groundwater. It's available for everybody. So.
There has been a shift from women empowerment to women led empowerment. How do you see the change playing out and what impact is it having?
So that's a very, very relevant question, and I think something which I'm very, very passionate about, and our organization really works in this direction of empowering women. So, rural and urban, the context is slightly different. Yes, in rural areas, as you know, still it's a long way to go, and in urban areas, we see, there are women now engaging in various, forefront. We have pilots, we have hydrologists, we have agronomists, we have people in IT sector. Women are really taking the lead, in various directions. Now, having said that, I would like to mention in rural areas, though it's a long way to go, but there is tremendous, tremendous potential and resilience among rural women. So Jay mentioned about the life skills education program which we started, which was basically working with adolescent girls and boys. You work with adolescent girls to build their confidence, their communication skills, so that they can make choices in their lives. But same kind of context has to be done with adolescent boys, because ultimately they both have to work together, right? So that is the age when we catch them young and we provide them skills and knowledge so that they can make life choices about their own lives, right, in future. And then we have various platforms. We have women collectives where women get a safe space to really work together. So a lot of collectives have initiated enterprises, good enterprises. It could be a custom hiring center in the area of agriculture. It could be a women leadership school, group of women who have taken development of village in their own hands. It could be, women who are working as Pashu Sakhis, what we call it, basically veterinary services for the cattle in the village. So on and so forth, various enterprises which gives them a lot of confidence. And all our work, as we said, it's community led, and women are integral part of this leadership role in the development. So, for example, in the school management committee, 50% of the, this SMC consists of women. In any village development committee which we organize in the villages, 50% of them, are women. So, in all the institutions, women take the key role. And it's not only just in involvement, but it's women taking on meaningful role. In terms of even panchayat, in India, we have 33% of reservation of women in panchayats, right? They are women sarpanches, right? So we work very closely with these women who have leadership positions, providing them knowledge as well as skills so that they can come together and take the development in their own hands.
Jay, your work has already influenced people around you. It has influenced the community. So it's like a leadership at its core. So how do you think what makes today's leader the efficient leader?
That's a very good question. I think leadership has very, very different aspects from different angle. My feeling is that my leadership style is lead by example. You got to set an example. So you have to be people oriented. Your leadership cannot be the my way or highway. You really have to get a consortium. You have to put a consortium of people together, and ideas can come from anybody. Your leadership should not be that ideas can only come from the very top management. Yesterday, a few days ago, I was in the villages and I just started creating conversation with the people because what I'm doing with that conversation is I'm learning. I'm getting the pulse of the organization, what's going on, what's happening, and from which I can drive better decisions for the organization. So I think that is extremely, extremely important for us. Um, how do we learn from others? Leadership is not telling well, you do this and you do this and you do. It's about how you bring the thing together. And many times, what happens is this is my only thing. The leader thinks that it is his or her responsibility, and but my way of doing is building your people, good people around you, to be able to help you with that leadership role. So leadership, even though many people say it's a lonely job, is sort of, but in my opinion, it is that you bringing brilliant people. I am surrounded by brilliant, gladly all these women, brilliant women that drives that decision making process in the organization. Yes, it is true. Because when you have a consortium, somebody has to take a decision at the end of the day, end of the conference, end of the meeting. That's very important. But you understand where everything is coming from, and then you take a decision. And I think the other thing that I started with was leadership by example. People follow leaders.
Yes.
We know people follow leaders all around the world. This is happening today. People follow leaders. What the leader is doing, we will also do the same thing. So it's you. You have to watch every step that you take, and then make sure that you are ethical, you are honest, you are trustworthy, and you work with the people. How do you win trust of the people? I can go. If I go and start promising all my team, I will do this for you, I'll do that for you, and I don't do anything, and that means that they don't trust me anymore. They won't trust me. You commit and you deliver. So we have a lot of principles. This is a very broad question in leadership, but key things to focus on delivering what you commit. So focus on leadership by example, focus on learning from the team, learning for people, and building a good team of people, trusted good team of people around you. And that helps strengthen a leader.
Is there any book, quote, or mantra that guides you professionally and personally?
Yeah, yeah, both in professional personal life. I am I believe in the fact that and there's a quote that I will use is called "If you build it, they will come." It's a very famous movie in the U.S. Dream Fields of Dreams, and there's the if you build it, they will come. Now this I used to use in my in the office, and people didn't know what you mean. You talk about schools. We said, let's do this, let's build it. Let's see what happens. It's an experiment. All of a sudden, these kids start coming and kids are playing. They don't want to go home anymore. They have water, they have food, they have everything in that place. Why would they? So it's basically developing a concept, the whole concept. And then the concept is meaningful, people will stick to it, and that's exactly very important to me. That I always use in many of my meetings. I still use it. If you build it, they will come. So that mantra I live by in my personal life as well as my official life. Anjali, you read a lot, so right? You do a lot of reading. You must have a lot of books that you could quote.
Yeah, yeah. No, I read a lot, but I'm get very inspired with this Sustainable Development Goal 17 of partnership, you know. So I think ultimately everything is about partnerships.
Yeah.
It's maybe partnership with the community, it's partnership with the team, partnership with the board, partnership with the leaders. I mean, it's all about partnership and collaborative, work, which inspires me a lot. And doesn't mean that everyone does whatever he or she wants to do, but it's like people just coming together, because then it makes a very, very strong force and providing a platform to everyone to voice what they want to do. It could be a community, it could be our team members, it could be our board members, means or everyone in this whole big community, I think. So I think that inspires me a lot, working together. Our motto is working together to empower. So when we work together, everyone gets, empowered through this journey of empowerment. I think that is something I always get very inspired with.
Similarly, we like Techfluence is also about that. Taking to each other, yes. So where we came together to start.
Yeah, I work very closely with Jay and the board members. So it's wonderful. There's so many things we want to do. And we discuss it with Jay, and Jay has so many ideas he discusses with us. And our team has, doesn't mean that we do everything. That's not possible. But at least there is a platform where there are new ideas, and we can pick up
Exchange of ideas is
work in a very collaborative manner.
with the world so connected, and whereas the nations are pushing for self reliance. So, you as a leader, how do you see it? How are we going to make that balance?
As is well said, unity creates a larger success and harmony. And that continue to believe that. I think that's what I think the leaders need to continue to build the, even though people are thinking more internal, their own internal success and everything. But they then what will happen? First of all, we go through cycles, right? And they will go through internalizing, and then people will start looking and start realizing that there's a lot is being missed, and then we start moving into the, again, reaching out to others, reaching out to bringing that unity back. So right now I realize we are a lot in the self-reliance cycle, but I think it will move, the needle will move again, where people will start looking at unity again and start combining. So I think in our way of working is that we um, in our foundation, in the Sehgal Foundation, we continue to invite others to say, "Come, learn from us. What are we doing? We are learning from them. They are learning from us. We are also learning from them. We're creating this dialogue that we continue to learn from each other, and we continue to empower so and they are also empowered. So I think that's what makes a lot of difference, and the world will start. I think the world will start moving in that particular way eventually. It was there. We went through that cycle. Now people are going the other way, but the cycle will come back. There's no question. And as I said earlier also, that we are an open source organization. Open source meaning come and learn, come take what you can, also teach us how to do it. And I think that creates larger success than you have your own bubble. If you're in your own bubble, you're going to get very limited in your. The world will go on somewhere else. So it is very important to be able to offering, reaching out to others. Let's sit down, let's talk, how can we solve our issues, how can we solve our problems. That's I think that creates a larger success in the world order. you know
Yeah, if I can also add, in the context of one country, say in India, we have rural and we have urban,
Yes.
right? So they can also be two different kind of different ecosystems. So while we want rural areas to be self-reliant, I think self-reliance is good in terms of we don't want all this migration from rural to urban areas, because then there will be a lot of burden in the urban areas, but at the same time the rural areas also need to prosperous. So if we take a similar context, so there has to be a balance, I think. So self reliance is good, but at the same time everything is self dependent. Everything is dependent on each other. I mean, nothing is self dependent, actually. Nothing is self dependent, everything is dependent, right? So we have to have both. It's not a conflict, if I may say so, if we talk about rural and urban areas. So we want them to be self reliant, but at the same time, we want them to, merge, and there should be prosperity from urban to rural areas. Rural areas should prosper on their own. It cannot be one at the cost of others.
So giving and taking is the mantra.
Yeah, yeah. It's all on dependent origination.
Yeah.
So that is what I thought.
What is success and power in real terms, Jay?
to me, I think it's the impact. If you're bringing impact, whatever you do, it must bring an impact. When you bring an impact, it will create success. It will create power. That is the key thing that one has to keep in mind. Whatever we do has to translate into what impact are you doing. Now, there's also a pitfall, because impact can be negative, impact could be positive. So we have to drive towards a positive impact. Now, when we work in the rural communities, we always talk about how we positively impact the lives of the rural communities. That's very important for us, because if the impact is not there, we are not going to do it. We are not going to go down the line. So that's what I feel is the key in that particular aspect. Anjali, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so success, I totally agree. Impact was the word which came to my mind. And I think everyone has power within, power, every woman, every person has power within. So what we have to do is to harness that power so that, more impactful work can be done. And another thing about success, because about our organization, we always say that we build an institution. Our organization is also an institution. So if that institution is successful with the people, so if the people get empowered, they have power to do their work,
Yes.
they enjoy their work, that gets again translated into success, and it gets translated into impact in the community. So those things are, I think, very much related, the institution, the people, and our work in the communities.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for helping us with your thoughts in the leadership domain. And also, we came to know so many things about your work in the rural areas. So, thank you so much once again.
Thank you, also for your time.
Yeah, it is our pleasure being here, and we enjoyed the conversation, and we look forward to having you at the foundation. Come and see what we do. Come and see the villages. I mean, so thank you for having us, and thank you for this conversation.
You would like to say something about Techfluence? One
Do you
liner,
want to
maybe?
say?
One liner.
I think Techfluence is providing good information, good knowledge, because you need a platform. Leaders need a platform to, like us or like other organization. What we have seen, how do they bring their ideas to the floor, because there's so much information people have. When the ideas and information in somebody's mind, it is one person has it. How do you share that information, share the knowledge? And I think that's what Techfluence is doing, taking that mind, people's with their particular questions, taking that out and putting it on the table, putting it on the social media, putting it out there, or sharing with others. So I think that's what Techfluence is doing, and we are thankful for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think Techfluence is doing a remarkable work in having these conversations around thought leadership. I think because leadership is also changing in the current, ecosystem, especially with the youngsters. So many youth, coming forward. So I think they will be taking on leadership roles in future, and leaders also learn from each other. So it's a great platform, as Jay said, of experience sharing and learning from each other. And it's a way to create a larger impact in the leadership ecosystem. Thank you.